So hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. This is Romola D from Romola D Reports, and I'm here today with a very exciting panel discussion. This is going to be Invasive Neurotech, True Neuroethics, the second panel that we are doing on the subject. The first panel, Galina Cardina and I kicked off pretty much a month ago, I think, at this point. And we are hoping to keep these panels going and keep this public conversation going. So let me very briefly introduce the illustrious panelists I'm sitting here with today. Patrick Alavi is a musician from Berlin. Galina Cardina is a former software developer and the founder and president of the Organization of Mind Control Victims with Psychotronic Weapons. And Craig LaForest is a former director of passenger logistics on a luxury cruise line centered or headquartered in LA. He's had a long career and he's currently retired. Robert Duncan is a former Department of Defense and CIA whistleblower and scientist in the arena of cybernetics and artificial intelligence and robotics, who has helped all of us around the world gain a deeper understanding about non-consensually implanted and very invasive neurotechnology. So we're very grateful to Robert for being here today so he can take questions and answer everybody's concerns. But I'm truly grateful that everybody has been able to make time today. We're meeting across the waters, the boundaries, the barriers of time and space here, from Germany, from Canada, from Sydney, Australia, from Robert, where exactly are you, Idaho?
Yeah, Idaho, the potato state.
The potato state, and here I am in Massachusetts. It's not really snowed in right now, but you know, the cold Northeast. So thank you all so very much for being here today, for making time, and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you. It's great
You're very
to
welcome.
see you again.
Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. So, you know, I just wanted to open the floor in the beginning for everybody to just sort of give our audience a kind of 2-minute introduction of your background and your interest in neurotechnology, this whole field of neurotech, and how you came to this interest as well. So who would like to start?
Ladies first, or would you like to start, Galina?
Okay. I will introduce myself very briefly. My name is Galina Kurdina. I'm a native Russian person. I left Russia for Canada in 2004, and I started experiencing mind control effects upon me, a whole bunch of mind control effects upon me several hours after one-day surgery at the very end of 2005. It happened in Canada, in a polyclinic, after surgery in a polyclinic in Toronto. After that, honestly, I didn't know anything about psychotronic weapons, microwave, electromagnetic weapons, nothing, absolutely. It was, for me, like sci-fi, something scientific, or maybe non-scientific fiction. But all of a sudden, I started experiencing whole bunch of these symptoms several hours after this surgery. And after that, I started, as all targeted individuals of this technology, I started investigating, I started surfing the internet, searching, and I found other targeted individuals in Canada and worldwide. And that's how I started this organization of victims of psychotronic mind control weapons. Thank you.
Thank you, Galina. My name is Craig LaForest. I'm currently living in Sydney, Australia. I am tortured and abused every single day by V2K. I have very clear voices which come into my head. I lived in Los Angeles from 1983 through to 2011. I was aware that I had pressure in my head, but nothing like pain from headaches. Probably about 10 years before I left Los Angeles. Since I returned to Australia in August 2011, I literally walked into the door in my penthouse here in Sydney. And I was told immediately, don't think that just because you've returned to Australia, you are going to be free. I am tortured with the burns, the transmission burns every single day. I'm woken every single night. They are with me almost 24/7. I had about 2 hours sleep last night. I feel the implants. I've had CAT scans, x-rays, but of course, whether it's a situation of being paid under the table, the general practitioners here in Sydney, Australia do not want to even discuss mind control or V2K. We are termed delusional if we go to a psychiatrist or anybody related in that field. I continue to voice through media with Romola as much as I possibly can, and through radio, what is going on with people being implanted. I continue to fight against this. I am naming people. I live with James Cameron, the film director, who was a scientist first in Malibu. And on Facebook, I have posted many posts asking him to step up, because we went up to Seattle, Washington at the time that Avatar came out, and we went to a brain institute called iLabs in Seattle, and we saw thought transmissions together. One of the most arrogant men I've ever met. I have contacted his office. I've contacted his personal phone numbers, his email, and I don't even get the pleasure of a phone call with this man. It would be lovely if he just stepped up and returned my calls, but I haven't had this since I met Jim. Prior to meeting Jim and his current wife, Susie Amos Cameron, in Los Angeles. I don't know when this happened. I know that many people have been drugged through the MK Ultra program. They were tested with LSD, syphilis. We've had the situation with radiation treatment, and in October 1995, President Clinton came out and said, yes, on behalf of the American government, we're apologetic that this is happening to so many people. It's a living hell to go through this every single day. They get me to the point of exhaustion. I can't do any of the work that I want to do. I was doing a lot of volunteer work specifically for cancer victims, for children, and that has all stopped. That is my story, and I again thank you, Romola, for letting me be on the program today. I've seen Patrick. You had a wonderful interview, Patrick, once before.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig.
I really acknowledge what you did. It was amazing. And Galina, I have not had the pleasure of hearing you before, but Robert, thank you so much for stepping up and being a whistleblower. I know you are caught in a situation where you can say so much and no more, but I would just love to know why no president has stepped up and investigated this. I know the UN has investigated this, and we didn't get much done, unfortunately, through that. But this is an ongoing problem with so many people around the world, and for people to devote time and energy to sitting around and burning us and transmitting with nothing to do. These people are soulless. And I'm a very spiritual person. I just keep saying, you know what? The wrath of God will come down on these people who are hurting so many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely shocking what's been going on. I'm sorry, Craig, I did not hear most of what you said because I was completely frozen on my video just now.
Okay.
And luckily I had a second laptop at my side, so I'm back in the meeting.
Okay.
But thank you. Thank you. And I'm so sorry at what you are reporting. Indeed, so many hundreds and thousands of people around the world are reporting precisely this. And that's part of what we are trying to expose and trying to address today, I guess.
Yes, we are. We have to find a solution to this. We're all talking about it. Too many innocent people are victims of this. And thank God I have some great friends who have done the research, and there's so much out there. And I've shared some of the interviews that Robert has put out. Fantastic, you know, to have that provided. But for somebody innocent in the early days who didn't have Robert's type of information to be able to provide and say, this is a gentleman who was involved in this. What is the problem in understanding what's going on? We are not delusional. We are people who are we're able to communicate. We're not schizophrenic. That happens when people are in their early 20s. They can't put sentences together. They have problems, you know, multiple personalities. None of us have that. We live day-to-day lives. I'm able to I'm able to create wonderful concerts here for fundraisers every 4 to 5 weeks. That keeps me going, in addition to supporting in the mornings here many people around the world who are suffering with V2K, but it's overwhelming the number of people.
That's right. I would like to add that, of course, these guys are ultimate hypocrites, because when it happens to them and their workers, for example, their diplomats, American, Canadian, they immediately admit existence of electromagnetic weapons, microwave weapons, and blah, blah, blah. Immediately, they admit, they claim, they yell and scream all over the world that bad Chinese, bad Russians, bad Cubans, but whatever. But when they do the same things with their own citizens in their own countries, they never admit these crimes. They claim victims of these crimes, delusional, psychotic, schizophrenic, whatever. But, and of course, they pronounce them for the same crimes, even more heinous, more disgusting, more horrible. They proclaim themselves like advanced Democrats. So you understand, of course, nowadays, 90, even maybe 95%, 99% of people, they understand that this is real. This is going on all over the world. People do not trust governments. People do not trust psychiatrists anymore. When the psychiatrists label all targeted individuals, you can see a lot of videos online. They, all the psychiatrists label all targeted individuals indiscriminately and in absentia or in absentia as delusional. This is outraging how doctors can label all targeted individuals without seeing them, without talking to them, without anything, all of them as psychotic, but they do it. But nowadays, of course, 99% of people understand that this is real. And from my experience, sorry that I mention it, when we protested in Toronto before the pandemic, before lockdown, most of people trusted us. Most of people, many people signed our petitions, and we hope to continue these activities after lockdown. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very sad situation indeed, and that's a subject to return to Galina, the psychiatrist. Did we get a chance to hear from Patrick and Robert as yet?
No,
Go ahead. Yeah.
You already introduced me pretty well. You know, when I started becoming very upset about what was going on was when I started seeing a lot of my work, you know, researching, hearing about TIs. And I'm like, that's exactly what I've been working on. They're using it on the world. And so I started, you know, becoming a little more outspoken, had to do more research. I interviewed, geez, probably today, 2,200 targeted individuals, found the commonalities and threads between all their stories, saw that doctors were misdiagnosing them. They didn't, you know, it's not something they teach in medical school or in textbooks. And the NSA has the ability to pull patents. And so it's very difficult to get hold of the exact technology. And of course, I'm between a rock and a hard place. I can't say very specific things due to my, you know, non-disclosure agreements, but I can ask the right questions to lead people to find the right answers. And so that's been kind of my strategy. I work with a lot of brilliant people. We call ourselves the Mind Hacking Strategy Group around the world. And we try to figure out how can we teach people basically what these methods are, both psychological breakdown and reprogramming, as well as, you know, the old MK Ultra. And there were over 100 different projects, turn an ordinary citizen into an assassin is one of them, you know, and they're brutal programs. But the hard part is There is not a one-to-one correlation. One human is not doing this to one other human. The chatterboxes and cybernetics, which is the proper term, the UN is using the term cyber torture, which is pretty good, but it's a little inaccurate. It's really, and it's better if the TI believes that the target individual believes this. It's not a person, it's not fully human. And that's why it doesn't act human. It's a program that tricks the person into making it believe it is that demon, it is that evil. And it's a way to scale this weapon system over the world to many people. And it learns from every target how to be more evil. And so it's called, one of the acronyms for part of the project is Satan. And it was silent assassination through adaptive neural networks. And neural networks are what all animals, intelligent animals, are composed of. So it's how you rewire the brain for self-destruction or to harm others. And there are many other projects obviously involved in this, but I wrote a book back in 2007 called Project Soul Catcher: Secrets of Cyber and Cybernetic Warfare Revealed. And while it wasn't edited, and I should have probably revised it since then, I thought the information was more important to get out there immediately rather than make a perfect book. So someday, hopefully, I'll get it perfect. So that's my introduction.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Robert, because that gives us a real insight into your background and your interests, and I think raises a lot of questions, which I hope to ask shortly, and I'm sure everyone else will ask shortly as well. Perhaps we should give Patrick a chance to introduce himself as well and his background before we get into it.
I mean, thank you again, Robert, for the great words you just had. Because Soul Catcher, the book, was also for me a kind of realization that this was really happening, and together with because before I just was too skeptical about all this, and just because I came into all of this because of my partner who got V2K in 2018. It started with him, and actually, I'm really a skeptical person. I'm really into science, and I was into quantum physics all the time. And so I couldn't really believe that, humans were so much advanced tech-wise. So I didn't get that. I just thought that what would be a delusion would be psychological problem. Like I told you in the first interview with Romuald, it changed then dramatically with the book. I read it 2-3 times, I think, because everything in this book was like one-to-one, like it was all the experience I have made as an observer or observing my partner all the time, and what he's telling me about the voices, what they're telling him at any time. And then after I read the book of Robert, then I realized also that I also maybe was a target myself, because that kind of dream manipulation, that kind of burn on my skins, I had this I think since 2006 or something, so a long time, and then had no real idea that I could be already in that program for some reasons. So it was kind of then, I was kind of realizing that I'm also was part of this more and more, and today I'm 100% sure that it's all it's all related, and maybe there's no coincidence that I'm also, and my partner is now also V2K 24/7 target, you know.
So, Patrick, can I ask you, are you V2K?
No, I'm not V2K. I'm just have a strong dream manipulation, and sometimes when I wake up, I hear voices, but then they stop. Because I also have to say, since childhood, I'm kind of naturally kind of psychic, that I really empathic, and can when I see someone's eyes, I can directly. Sometimes I had that kind of feeling that I could read other minds. It was not exactly the same thing, but the emotions and stuff like that. And it was also not really pleasant when I was a child, and I often was, becoming more, more an outsider, because myself, I isolated myself, so that because it was not a pleasant experience all the time, getting all these emotional stuff from other people that I even don't know. So, and the interesting part, what you mentioned, that it's all, in a way, it's more 90% or more artificial intelligence that is, speaking to the V2K people, because I'm so psychic, I try to get an idea who's behind this, and because sometimes I just have the I don't know how to say it. I just have the
Intuition?
intuition, the strong intuition and when I concentrate on some beings, some real beings, or try to ask a question, who's that being behind this and this phenomena, then I get a picture, clear picture. But in this case, I could not get any picture at all. And that meant to me there was not a living
single
being with a consciousness, because it's all about consciousness, and there was no consciousness in this, whatever this was. And now that it's clear to me that it's an artificial intelligence. It's without consciousness. So that
that's an interesting observation.
Yeah,
Is that?
Sorry.
I was just going to ask Robert, is that pretty much what you were actually talking about a little bit earlier?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm kind of new to Zoom as well. And you said we can share screens. I was going to show,
yeah,
but I don't know how to do it.
So there's a link at the bottom.
I'm not touching my computer.
I know. I'm worried.
I'm the same way, Robert.
It says, "Oh, there it is." I see.
There's a little.
Okay. Well, I'll need to pull up the screen first, but it will help kind of explain how this intuition works, how a non-sentient program can simulate sentience through multiple people with increased intelligence, living beings, sort of in the spirit realm, if you will, and I'm just using poetic language.
Okay. You're not talking about the astral realm, because people talk about that as well.
It utilizes your own brain's computing power to process. So it's stealing brain cycles, if you will, and that's why a lot of TIs become homeless and have trouble functioning. Is because without a brain, you're not going to do that well.
Well, they also engage in life takedown activities as well, Robert, don't they? I mean, they destroy people's relationships, their job situation. So that's another reason why those who are targeted get homeless, right?
Yeah,
they've used homeless people in this technology. It's a phenomenal situation. This technology could be used in a very positive way, but it's out of hand now. I also transmit through my eyes. So if I'm walking in the street or typing an email, they jump in ahead and say, this word is a better word to use than the word that you've used. And I've never heard of the word before. Yeah. My sentences are very structured. I speak as clearly as I can in discussions with people. However, they jump in prior to me, and I can discern between my own natural thoughts and what I'm about to project and what they're saying for me to say. So we play this little bit of a, my God-given brain, we play this little bit of a game where I don't use the words that they provide me with. I literally just step back and I keep quiet, and then I will create another word. And I hear them laughing in the background. It's quite ridiculous. It really is.
And what you say is 100% true. You ever saw the movie Terminator and the robot?
James Cameron. Well, this is I live with James Cameron in Malibu.
Oh yeah,
you know?
That's right.
I live with James Cameron. This is one of the most arrogant men I've ever come across. Everything was about James Cameron. I've lived in his compound where we were attacked one night by Russians. The life this man lives is just all about James Cameron, and I keep putting his name out all the time. But yeah, I feel exactly like that. I feel pressures in certain parts of my head. It's frustrating because I've been, as I said, to have MRIs and CAT scans and X-rays, and it always comes back negative. But the radiologists literally take a look at the file or the screen that they've got in front of them, and they'll say, well, we can't see anything. We can't see a tumor, so you have nothing. There's no problem. So that is then sent along to the medical practitioner who you've been speaking to and providing videos like Robert's, and I'll pay for those to be listened to by the medical practitioner. And I say, well, hang on, this has just come back from a radiologist and you're negating what I'm saying as being truthful. That is not the case. That is not the case. So yes, the Terminator, Robert, you're looking at one of them.
Yeah, and you want the mathematical terminology of how the word selections are the choices for the sentences. They're called Markov Modules. It's after a Russian mathematician. And it's part of speech recognition, conversation planning. We've used them for a long time, but it's funny that you're so observant and you know thyself so well that you can tell when another word is being forced into your speech patterns.
And I see Patrick, nodding his head as well. And I have to say that because I've spoken to so many of those who are targeted. By the way, I don't say targeted individual too often because I'm so tired of that terminology. I just use the term those who are targeted.
I'm not sure.
And because I've interviewed, I know all of us don't like it. But the people who are targeted and who are reporting V2K and reporting this kind of synthetic telepathy that's kind of inner voice, kind of like an inner voice in their heads, offering word choices and all that, many people have actually reported exactly what you are reporting, Craig, that they can tell the difference between their own authentic inner voice, their own organic inner voice that they have grown up with, and then this other voice that's trying to sort of zoom in and supplant their inner voice.
And I've heard Craig's story before with several interviews, and they'll come up with words I didn't even know existed, like fortuitous. I didn't know what that meant, but I typed it anyway. So I've heard your story, yeah.
So this is all connected to supercomputing and what you're calling this kind of algorithm called Markov Modules, where you have mathematicians playing word masters.
Yeah, in a sense. Now, the programmers, you got to remember, we were lied to. We think we're creating bloodless war. Oh, what if you controlled the enemy before it leads to nuclear war? We're showing the kind of the positive things of what we're working on. We had no idea that this is how it would be used to silence dissidents and discredit people.
Or anybody in the world, anyone they like.
Exactly. I mean, it's a full-on totalitarian of technology. So I'm going to try to share an interview, and I'm in this very brief script here. Let's see. Oh yeah.
When you're sharing screen, hit the sound button. By the way, there's a little sound.
Share sound. Yeah. I see it.
I just want to support Craig because it is very important when we report absolutely the same symptoms, when we have something in common. I experience absolutely the same things. I experience heavy pressure sometimes. I'm close to, I can lose balance, I can lose coordination of movements. Pressure is enormous on crown, on forehead, temples, and sometimes here on my back. And during this pressure, I lose memory and I may be manipulated very heavily. And I may experience forced speech, forced actions, involuntary body movements, induced thoughts, induced actions. And by the way, I experience the same things when I'm not so heavily manipulated, but perpetrators or this artificial intelligence, whatever, it seems to me that perpetrators, live and artificial, they both affect me when they interfere and help me translate from Russian to English. So I don't have to use online dictionaries. They help me, and they help me, yes, sometimes to build English sentences in better way. Yes, yes, I support Craig. It seems to me that this is important to report the same things.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's phenomenal. Sorry, I don't want to. If Robert's ready.
Oh, I'm ready. Yeah, let me share this. I love this video.
University. They had 3 monkeys with chips in their brain. Each of these monkeys can only see in 2 dimensions, 2D. But the monkeys together are rewarded with a treat, with some good food,
or punished
if they can move a dot on the computer screen in 3D space to the right location. Well, each of these monkeys can't do it alone because they can only see 2D. They can't even move in 3D. But together, all 3 of those brains learn how to work together to consistently move the dot to the right 3D location. That finding is actually amazing. What it is telling us is that when multiple brains are wired together, they can perceive the world in a way that a single brain might not be able to do. They are collectively working as a single intelligence. Now, the monkeys aren't consciously aware that they are wired to other monkeys' brains. They don't have to know that. They are actually just getting the information and perceiving it intuitively.
Rather frightening story altogether.
Yeah. How do I get out of this mode of sharing?
You have to click the stop share. You might see it on top or at the bottom.
Okay. Well, as long as you can hear me, I'll figure it out. You can continue talking.
Yeah, sure. Well, any comments on that? The mind hiving, it seems to be, that's what's all about, right?
Yeah, eventually, yeah, they want, they think we can create, and again, you can see how this all came about is a greater good. If we can all view each other as part of the same organism, we would help each other. Like you are part of my body, the earth, the whole. I'm going to help you. So it would eliminate wars. You can see how they might justify this research.
But Robert, haven't they used sort of multiple rationalizations such as this to justify the research?
Yes.
Because, all this research comes out of the military, right? They were looking into this as neuroweapons, how to use weapons, how to use the brain as a weapon.
It's very true.
So I think all of us have a little bit of skepticism about the military scientists who have done this, because now they've created this horrible situation where people are being harmed so intensely.
And how are we picked? It's fascinating to me. How do they make their choices? Because I think I mentioned the last video I had with you, Romola. Once I retired in 2011, I've traveled all over the world by ship. I have it up in the northern hemisphere, at the top of the northern hemisphere. I've been down to Antarctica. several times, and I have it down there. Through the transmissions, I literally am burned from my feet all the way up to the top of my head, constantly. It's at what point do you say enough is enough? Why are they protecting the people who have designed this? Why don't people like James Cameron step up? Why doesn't one anaesthetist step up? Who has done the implants? Why isn't there? It's overwhelming that there's so much research and so much positive information that's coming out of this, that you would think there was going to be somebody other than Robert stepping up and saying, this has got to stop.
That's a very good question.
I'm worried about the future. I have children who are going to have children. I don't want them affected by someone working out of a garage and taking a chance on stimulating their brain and using innocent people from the street. I know that a lot of what we have found is, and I don't know whether it's a true number, but 60% of the people used for this technology are women. I know a lot of gay men have been used as well, who are single. I'm a gay man, and in Patrick's situation also, you know, a lot of gay men. There's a video from guys who were in Palm Springs, and they used to follow these men home after dance parties and drug them. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming what they have done to innocent people. And at some point you sit back and you go, well, what is the point now? There's so much of this out there. When do we stop this? How do we stop this?
I would like to add that at this moment they consider approving different new human rights, so-called neuro rights, new laws, and blah, blah, blah. You know, we must keep in our minds that this technology has existed practically for a century. Like from 20s, 30s of last century, around 100 years. Why right now? Because a lot of, in my opinion, of course, in my humble opinion, and Robert Duncan maybe will say something else, but this is my private opinion. Nowadays, because of this dark web, black market, because of widespread of this equipment and different programs, it is possible for people to buy these weapons and actually start attacking other people from their garages or from their houses. It is possible. So at this moment, perpetrators, of course, they didn't care about targeted individuals before. Nothing, no compassion, no conscience, nothing like that. They used people and dehumanized them. They left just shell of people. A person just has his or her physiology, just shell. All individuals' traits, intellect, emotions were and may be deleted or suppressed completely.
Yeah.
They didn't have any compassion. But nowadays, when they feel that they may become victims, that they may become targets, or nowadays they are thinking about neuro rights. So these guys are just incredible, incredibly heinous, incredibly rude, incredibly, you
Soulless.
can, yes, you can, you know, I remember concentration camps in Stalinist Russia, when people were, for example, somewhere in Siberia, in very, very cold places, when witnesses who were in these concentration camps, they testified that this very hard work, very, very cold, severe climate, hunger, insomnia, by the way, they transformed normal people in disabled people in 2-3 weeks. And after that, very quick death. And the same we experience right now. They can disable people.
You're able to do that now with this technology.
Even sooner with this technology, you know, maybe sooner, but actually the same. complete, as you understand me, dehumanization, when they actually destroy people from inside, destroy what.
It's so frustrating because we are so healthy.
Yes.
We're healthy individuals who are trying to live our lives. We're provided with this. I have something written up on my wall, written by one of the great men of the past, Marcus Aurelius. It says, when you arise in the morning, think what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. It's so simple that we are here for a moment in time. Why not enjoy it? Give back, help your fellow man as much as possible. For people to have to feel that you have to be connected for more information overload in our brains, it's preposterous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And then to go and support the developers of this constantly by bombarding people like us who are innocent and just trying to live a normal life and help our fellow man.
It's a wonderful vision, but unfortunately, human history hasn't proven that to be true.
Oh, Robert, don't be a cynic. You know,
I'm a little bit of a cynic.
you know, Robert, I have to call you out on that because you know what
I will too.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful speech.
particularly with that background, Robert. How can you sit there and say that with the earth behind you and the sun coming up and the universe which extends to infinity? We can't even comprehend infinity. How can people not rationalize that somewhere out there may be an incredible positive power and that we are here on earth being tested to do the best that we can?
Oh no, I agree. It's just whether it's the super aliens or if it's just great trickery by
it's good trickery by some people. Yeah,
whatever it is, Robert. I mean, I think what Craig is pointing to is sort of the more positive, optimistic vision for humanity and the kind of thing that's behind life itself. All of us, you know, none of us had made any sort of conscious choices in this form. We might have in some other form, who knows? There's all sorts of stories about that. But we came into the world, you know, we were all given the gift of life. And we all have an equal chance at life, as Craig says. But of course, we have these, you know, dark, predatory, transhumanist scientists in the background sort of picking and choosing and just doing whatever they can because they look out. And, you know, by the way, I think, Craig, to answer your question a little bit, I'm sure Robert can answer this further as well. How do they select people to target? James Giordano made a comment in one of his interviews, his talks rather, that outstanding individuals are being studied. Now, he didn't say people are being targeted. He said outstanding individuals are being studied. I think he meant those who are being targeted.
Yeah, and you know, you can see it if you read all of the non-shredded CIA documents from MK Ultra. That's who they picked. Were above average IQ individuals, artists, and those were the ones they wanted to utilize, study for their experiments. So it's still in line with that. And then go back to what Galina had said. I do have to disagree with her. I love that she talked about how they're using her multiple linguistics ability, which I never got to interview anybody who had V2K and was multilingual. And I was wondering, how do they do that? You know, so that was neat. But what I have to disagree with is, I built microwave weapons in my garage and stuff, but I'm not targeting people, and you wouldn't be able to do it. This is so profound in the laws of war that it's considered a weapon of mass destruction or mass distraction of mind, that the governments would not allow any citizen or crime mafia to have hold of it. So that's where we disagree. But otherwise, you know, thank you for your experiences, sharing your experiences.
Robert, there are a lot of things that government do not allow. For example, heavy drugs, different sorts of weapons, for example, chemical or bacterial.
Yeah.
You understand. But people somehow get and use this means of destruction of other human beings. So in theory, it is possible. Plus, of course, it is possible to affect them. I mean, these guys, military guys, guys from government and blah, 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 from abroad.
And not only that, they use teams. I mean, this is the structured scenario. I think people who are targeted from all of my research is that, you know, there are fusion houses in neighborhoods. There are fusion center contractors working. And who are they working for? They're working for all of these agencies, the CIA, the DIA, the DOD, whoever's running these experiments. You know, what about this whole notion of trauma-based mind control? They are deliberately inflicting injury on people in their own homes through the walls using milliwave tech and microwave tech. It's not just from drones and satellites.
Okay, I did an experiment. Sorry, did I cut someone off?
Okay. Yes, sorry, I would like to just support Ramola. And please keep in mind that many of these services, law enforcement services, military services, they are not friends for each other. Very often, so theoretically,
that's interesting.
Possible. So nowadays, they are very they are concerned about their own lives, their own health.
Yes.
Yes, is it right?
Yes, no, you're right. And I did a study that I was about to say. I wanted to see how easy it was to manipulate a group of humans to stalk somebody. And so I posted on Craigslist, which I think everybody knows what that is. I would pay them $14 an hour, hire cars, give them, you know, the right equipment and everything. By the end of the day, I had over 100 people respond to the ad. These are random people. So to bribe people to do horrible acts, stalking, and I said stalk a senator. Who was not going to sign an anti-stalking bill. I wanted him to feel what it felt like, you know, different organized stalking. And turns out it's really easy to do.
Yeah,
and none of them have to work for having military experience.
That's right. And by the way, the DHS is paying people to do that kind of thing. You know, they call them surveillance role players. So these people are employed by the DHS, by the government.
Yeah, my perpetrators constantly say, look, this is paying my rent. I don't care. I don't believe, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in a higher power. I don't believe in, you know, I don't care if it hurts you. I'm being paid this money to do this. And yet I have some people who are quite, would have a very high IQ in the conversations, which I don't respond to. I don't respond at all. In the conversations that I listen to between them sometimes, they're able to clearly state some incredible pieces of information. And they're bright people. They are bright people that are being used. I just want the people who I've been involved with as a starting point to step up and say, I'm involved in this and I shouldn't have got involved in this. I know that James Cameron's brother Michael was involved in penetrating. He created the engineering to create, to have a tank, for example, hit by some type of armament so it could go inside the tank, pulverize the people inside, but keep all the dynamics of the mechanics inside in working order. So this is not dissimilar. This is not dissimilar to get into someone's help. And you may have had people in the MK Ultra period who, oh my God, if I was 10, 11, 12, they're pretty old by now. They're probably gone. So you've passed this information, this technology over to other people who are now saying, right, they were able to establish this during the Cold War in the 60s and 70s. Now we have new people who want to transmit through the eyes, want to be able to have a thought and have that transmitted. And yet sometimes it's not your own thought, it's their thought, which they've gone and put into you. Thank God, I know we only use a small portion of our brains, but as I said earlier on, I can delineate between what I'm thinking and what they put into my brain. They'll remind me about doing things during the day, but I can pick it up almost every single time. It becomes overwhelming. This is your structured day, Craig. This is what you have to achieve today. How about this? How about this? And I keep saying, you know what, guys? You should simplify this. Thank God, or whomever you believe in. Thank that part in your soul that gives you life every single day, just to go about your business and just be. Just be. Don't look forward to the future. Just be in the moment that you've been given while you're here on Earth.
Patrick, did you have a comment to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm into that. I mean, like, it's so true what he said, and we just have to be in. It's a great opportunity to be, I think, in this beautiful reality, because it actually is a beautiful reality. It's a beautiful world we live in, and there's so much beauty, so much positive things going on. But in some ways, we tend to focus more on the negative side of things, and also this kind of and just when I observe my partner when he's having all these V2K moments, I realize that he gets triggered, to have these angry reactions to these voices and to them, and so to speak, they lower his frequency in a way. His frequency is not. We should more focus on raising our frequency in general. Like
all emotions can be controlled through this technology.
Right. Yeah. And we should really focus on not too much on this horror negative psychological thing, because they try to put us down and put our emotions, put our feelings, and make this a living nightmare. And we are starring in this horror movie, like, right.
As Shakespeare said, the world's a stage, we're bad actors.
Right.
We must keep sharing. We must keep sharing. It may kill some of us ultimately, but we must keep sharing this. And one day it will stop, because they will recognize that once they're gone, if this continues, they're going to have family members who could be picked up in any corner, or
right,
and used in exactly the same way.
At this moment, I think my whole family is targeted. This is so, it's so frustrating to realize it, because of course I'm a really skeptical person in general, so that I'm also skeptical to my own thoughts, that my own ideas that I have. But realizing now my father has dementia that is, in such a drastic, such a magical speed in a way that it's he's in his last stage, and it just was like only 2 years, and from normally it's not around 10 years when you're in your last stage of this illness. So, and my mother almost cannot walk anymore. My sister has a strong depression, also maybe hearing voices. I don't know. There's so much going on. The dog of my parents is also tortured each day with that kind of maybe microwave weapons. I don't know, but he's having epileptic shock moments that also used to have, because I recognize when I see this dog, I can see the similarities that I also experienced, like this having shortness of breathing and
shortness of breathing,
and this epileptic kind
sudden
of
seizures and convulsions.
Right, that kind of
There's a variety of weapons, isn't there? And that's another thing I wanted to actually ask Robert about, because
I just to talk about that. The concussion weapon, which Craig brought up, and it's the Havana Syndrome, is I guess they call it now, but it causes mild traumatic brain injury, and it's similar to that tank weapon that your buddy was mentioning.
It's funny. I'm feeling it at the moment because I'm getting
how do you create a shockwave within a resonance pattern?
I'm getting a download of visuals and information during the discussion, during what Patrick was saying. But sorry, back to you, Robert.
Craig, just I have this. Maybe it's an advertisement. I don't know, but I'm not sponsored by them. But I just, because I'm all the time I'm searching for, for ways to stop this kind of attacks. Yeah, and this is a cap from a company called Chill, and they mainly focus because they. When I told them about the targeted inner thing, they all thought I was delusional or something. Yeah, but they more concentrate on blocking the EMF field, so to speak. But this cap really helped me a lot, and especially my partner who has also V2K and also had this kind of pressure feeling all the time, like you said before, and he used that cap also, and it stopped immediately. And also when I used that cap, for example, on my dog, when he had this kind of epileptic, moments, then I put that on his head, and it stopped. It stopped. I mean,
Yes,
I had it on video even,
I've seen a variety of these, and just to your point again, I'm doing this download of information with the visuals coming in. We had a TV program here recently where men who were suffering from epilepsy and had really big traumatic troubles trying to make words, sentences,
right.
Parkinson's disease, and they had put these probes into the brain, and they were able to literally think of, and this is similar to what I saw with James Cameron up at iLabs. They were able to think a thought or a word, and it was created on the screen in front of them because they couldn't use their hands at all. And they were able to send emails. So it was interesting that you were talking about dementia, and there's this positive side of what's happening. We just need to control the negative and the positive. So
that's right. That's right. And the universities are focusing on the positive, the ones who are trying to help people who are paraplegic, can't move their arms and legs, soldiers who've lost arms and legs and stuff. Those are good things, the prosthetics and, being able to move things,
fantastic.
Those are the great things. But why torture healthy people?
All technologies, and let's be honest, are first used in warfare before the positive uses can be utilized and discovered. So this is still, even though all the information's out there, one of the most secret weapons on Earth. Everyone knows about nuclear weapons. They don't know about mind control. Because think of the implications. Our entire justice system is based on free will. Well, if you just proved there is no free will and people are controlling other people, you've just overturned the justice system. How about religion? Same thing. The world would go into chaos. Democracy.
Definitely,
you can control people's thoughts and votes. Now you've just wiped out an entire Western world. So to make people go have the walls of reality melt before them of everything they believe in is not going to happen overnight, for sure.
And these perpetrators may learn, but they'll never be educated. For people to do this to other people, they will never be educated about humanity and our purpose here.
If they're people, again, I think it's more of a system, an organism, a set of ideologies like Nazism,
It is Nazism which drives it, Robert, but don't you think...
Crime.
It is a war crime. It's a war crime, and it's a war crime, certainly, that people are liable and accountable for. Because, Robert, you yourself said there are more than 100 MK Ultra programs ongoing currently, right?
Yeah.
So from the 70s, they just went underground. They never stopped, right?
That's right. No, they just changed the name and the budgeting. That's all. But it never stops.
And now they're hiding in the neighborhoods, and they are working through all sorts of projects, brain projects through universities, artificial intelligence projects through universities, cybernetics projects through universities. There's all sorts of, connections, allegiances between the military and the universities, and it's worldwide. How is this a worldwide phenomenon? How are humans being targeted by a worldwide network of scientists and military neuroscientists?
Great question.
Wow, that's very complex topic. But I'll give you an example. Harvard kicked out the military from recruiting on campus a long time ago.
You were Robert. You were at Harvard University. You came from Harvard University.
Yes, that's part of my educational background. And I just thought it was interesting. So they kicked them off. Can't have ROTC, ROTC. And some other things, and you can't recruit our students. Well, they threatened to cut off all scientific grants for all professors and students if they were not.
That's the connection. It's the grant money.
Yes,
and
it's grant money. Exactly.
And it's also via the National Science Foundation, I think, and the Department of Homeland
They're all
Security.
Involved. Anything connected to government is involved. Yeah.
Yeah, so the universities and the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense, the US Air Force, US Army, they're all connected through funding, through National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health. They're all connected. And this is why there is a complex. And, by the way, Robert, a lot of very smart IT-focused, those who are targeted people, have been talking lately about how you can go on your computer and find all of these people sitting on your computer through the trace, their IP addresses using peer block and data science and various apps. And I found Halliburton, I found GE, I found MIT on my computer. I need to publish the video I took of peer block playing out. And a lot of people have started to publish that. But why are they sitting on our computers,
It's
it's a huge data. It's a huge data collection project. I know.
Yes, Utah, the NSA just finished their giant warehouse of collecting all the world's data. They call it the electronic fence around the Earth. Not a single, small
bit of data is going to be lost.
It escapes. Yeah, exactly. We're on a prison planet. You got to just. I get
a bit.
Great.
I get a bit tired of going into my computer every morning and finding my emails are opened, of course, and I come into my home several times, and I don't even change the password on the alarm now when I step in, because I come into my home and the alarm is off. But going into the computer in the morning and just checking your emails, and they've been opened, and in some cases I go into Facebook and somebody's already gone and put a heart or a like against a post that
I get PDFs. I get PDFs just lifted off my computer overnight and disappearing. That I've been reading the night before, suddenly disappearing. So I know somebody's removed it. And by the way, it is ridiculous. And what we are experiencing is the surreptitious hidden networks in our PCs. When you look at what Facebook is doing, and this is one of the subjects I wanted to bring up actually, is when you look at what Facebook is doing or Cornell is doing or any of these. Neuralink, Elon Musk. What are some of these newfangled companies are doing? They are looking at the brain now as just another storehouse of data. And they're talking about the next great thing in personal computing is going to be smart glasses, which is the next step up from the smartphone, that's going to be connected to your brain and read your thoughts. So, and they have the most cavalier notions of neuroprivacy. They talk about your brain, okay, your private brain, your own bodily integrity and autonomy, your personal possession, your brain, as just data. Brain data. They use the words brain data.
I see where you're coming from, but we do it to ourselves, just like media. Why does media? Are we controlling media because we love the sensationalism? So that's why they must report it.
No, we are not. There are certain billionaires behind the whole scenario.
That may be true, but are we controlling let's say it's sort of like the vaccine. Some people may not get it. It's not being forced on anyone here in the States anyway.
It's dangerous and it's killing people.
But if people want it, they're lining up. They don't have enough of it.
They've been brainwashed by mainstream media, which is run by the pharmaceutical company, which is owned by those billionaires.
People will want to go transhumanistic. They will say, hook me up. The only way I can get a job at this corporation with some microchips and hook up my brain. So
I see
I'm
that.
gonna
I
do it.
totally,
You
I
see how
totally
they're
see
gonna
that.
sell it in the future, yeah, and we'll all sign up.
No, not we. And you see,
Well,
that's why it's
I
important to make
use
a
we a lot. I
distinction.
have trouble with pronouns. I just mean the human race in general.
But you see, there's, and I've talked about this with so many people lately, Robert. There is a bifurcation occurring in humanity right now. It's been occurring for a long time. It, I think, is becoming more and more visible. There are those of us who simply want our privacy and our humanity preserved. We want to evolve organically. And then there are those that are the kind that you mentioned that don't mind, a little bit of transhumanizing, a little bit of personal computing, if it gives them something, if it gives them benefits and privileges, they perceive as benefits and privileges.
Yeah. Can you imagine children today living without a smartphone?
But they're dangerous. Children shouldn't have a smartphone.
It's ridiculous. You see the new generation walking down the footpaths, the pavements, and you've got to move around them all the time to miss them. That's all they know. They can't communicate anymore.
They're not in reality. They're out of touch with their senses in the physical world. Yeah.
They can't sit down and have a normal discussion without having to go to the phones. And as parents, it's primary that you have to have that discussion with your student while you're here on earth with them. You must educate them to saying, this is what's happening in the world. Look at what's happening. People, young children are texting horrible things about each other, and ambiguous statements which are taken out of context. And you have young teenagers committing suicide. It's outrageous what's happening. I don't know the answer for the future. All I can say is I'm going to keep putting names out there at this point, and it's driven me to this situation with James Cameron. I'm putting names out until such time as there is a change. I'm getting absolutely tortured every single day in the most overwhelming manner that I can explain, and abuse and
it's amazing you keep such a positive attitude with such
what's the choice? I'm not the type of person that would ever go and commit suicide.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's not part of my being. I love life. I love the friends I have the family. I have these concerts that I put together, fundraiser concerts. I have wonderful people like you talking about this constantly. There's no reason for me to steal my money. Take the money that I've made. I put out an offer once, $1 million US, just to say, right, step up.
And Craig, I have a good feeling that this will end really soon, because the situation now with Elon Musk and with his company, it seems like they're trying, because also I've heard, I think Robert talking about that they have the kind of timeline planned already, and maybe 2025 was that kind of year around that time that they had the plan to release it commercially over persons like Elon Musk. And then those people like Elon Musk, who maybe do not know really about all this, what's really going on.
Don't you think Elon Musk knows?
Yeah, maybe he's the victim.
He's going to be a patsy, was my guess.
Something, because I would like to return to a very important thing that Ramola started talking. We do not talk about future use of this technology. Of course, it may be used for benefit of many people who would like to put implants and become a little bit transhuman. We talk about different things. And by the way, when I left a lot of messages under videos of Elon Musk on his YouTube channel in Russian, many people said to me, and what are you talking about? Are you against progress? Are you against all these things? They will help us. No, we talk about different things. We cannot let them silence how these weapons, how these technologies were created, developed, and tested. We cannot forget the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands victims who were tortured in order to be for these technologies to be created, developed, perfected.
Yeah. And the hundreds of thousands who
Yes,
died
yes,
to
who died, who died,
created during
who
wars to create freedom for us.
who
When you
died
look
in psychiatric hospitals, who
Yeah.
were confined there against their will. I say to them, and by the way, regarding this remark of Patrick, I do not think that Elon Musk is so naive person, because we discussed it last time with Ramola, and she can remember that I sent her links to several to a tweet from DARPA to an article that was published on MIT website, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Yes, and they, I don't know why, but they revealed very interesting information that actually this robot that drills holes in human skulls and inserts these wires with chips. It was fast, well-developed test passed to Elon Musk from DARPA. They developed all this equipment, and ready equipment was given to Elon Musk. So I will never ever believe that Elon Musk is so naive that he doesn't know where his equipment. By the way, last time we discussed with Ramola, and she can confirm that there is a very good article about gold rush in this area, and one journalist discussed with guys, I cannot remember, but they discussed, and they called, said even names of people from DARPA who left DARPA for private companies. And it was said there that Elon Musk courted, it means that he lured these scientists from military organization into his organization. So he got ready technologies, ready scientists, ready knowledge, ready data, everything. He doesn't create anything, absolutely. He just washes dirty military technology. And from time to time, proofs appears on the surface. It's truth, it's, this is reality. So I do not believe, of course, they just play these geniuses. Actually, these guys like Facebook, Elon Musk, Facebook, they're building 8, Google, kernel, they get already developed, well-tested, well-debugged artificial intelligence and equipment from military and their contractors, subcontractors in universities. Because when DARPA pays universities, sorry, this is military project. Thank you.
Yes,
we're at a stalemate where so many countries have developed this information, and you just think, what's the point of using it? Really, everybody knows about it.
What if it's a brain race? So more brains you can cognitively model, more brains you can grab into your super intelligent hive mind, earlier adopters you are as a, let's say, country, whatever tribe, and that's the new arms race, are collecting brains. Would that change your opinion at all of what the point is?
There's another aspect as well. There's many aspects, isn't there?
It's too busy, and there's so much involvement in doing that. It's too busy for people to, you could have people who die tomorrow but hit by a bus or something, and it could be the major person involved in this type of technology. I mean, it's
a global brain, your brain, every time you have brain cells die every day, doesn't really affect your consciousness that much, unless you develop dementia or some other aspect of concussions over time like a boxer. But so if you look at the earth as a live organism and humans as the nervous system, the brains, the computing power, the reshaper of it, then losing a few people, even the mastermind, wouldn't matter. It will self-adapt. People like Elon Musk will just come forward, or Bill Gates, or whoever, if they didn't exist, someone else would fill their shoes.
Well, they're all supported, and I think that's what Galina was also saying, you know, and this is part of the billionaire club, and you look behind at their antecedents, they're all connected to the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and, you know, the bloodline families and whatnot. So that's part of the story here. They're not just wonder geniuses working out of their garages and discovering Microsoft one day or something like that, right? They're all sort of born into this. So this is dynastic, and they are predating on the rest of humanity. You know, to them, it doesn't matter if a few humans go here or there. And you know what Patrick was talking about, his father suddenly getting dementia overnight. That's what these neurocognitive weapons can do. That's what Deborah Schnell said in that Emerging Biodefenses conference. She said literally in 2 or 3 days, somebody can get Alzheimer's. That's how bad these weapons are.
I believe that, and I'm actually a bit of a conspiracy theorist, as people know, and I think it was done to President Ronald Reagan.
Entirely possible, right? So you see, that's the point that I think many people on this panel have been making. These weapons could be used against anyone for any purpose, for any nefarious use, and they can be used by the pharmaceutical industry to induce all sorts of horrible diseases and make us all dependent on these horrible pharma drugs.
I know, isn't it horrible? How that it
goes back
possible.
It goes back to feeding those billionaires and those pharma barons, and it might well be what this is all about.
And it's equivalent for, let's say, I had my own CRISPR machine. Of those who don't know what that is, it's a genetic engineering machine, and I wanted to become rich, richer, like Bill Gates, and you know, I shouldn't use his name, because that's a conspiracy theory, but. It's so evil what we can do that we can create a virus that infects the world, and they must take our vaccine or drug in order to cure it. And unfortunately, there are greedy enough people in the world that would do that.
Greedy and manic, because what's going on right now is positively fascist, right? Especially when it's all based on a cold virus.
The basic problem is here again and again, like you create a problem and then you create the solution. You know, you just want the same person. You know, it's just. But we used to be like this. I mean, since I think. Over time, humans do used to be like this, and we have to change now if we want real change, you know, and it depends on each one of us, because, you know, you cannot change others. We only can change ourselves. It sounds a bit cheesy, I know, but it's like that, you know. We only can.
And you're right, but it requires everyone to do it. If there's one cheater. Then the system breaks down.
But we have to start by ourselves, and
that's a start. But now, what if we could mind control everyone into being better?
Right.
People?
Yeah. It's a different story, right? Of course. Yeah.
I was going to ask, are you just having a philosophical discussion here?
Yes, just philosophical.
Okay. Yeah. because we're talking about absolute crime. I mean, these guys are engaging in absolute crime against a certain number of humans, which they can, you know, expand to address the entire world, right? These powerful weapons.
It's true that the Nazis never lost World War II. They only had to move, according to Mark Phillips, former CIA agent, said. And there is a great downsizing. The population is now almost at 8 billion. And this is the weapons of eugenics or menticide of choice.
And people are torturing us every day, while 21,000 children die unnecessarily every single day. Outrageous.
Exactly.
Robert, I have a question for you. When you were involved in your work at the CIA, at what point did it get to you where you're within your soul, you said, you know what, I have to stop this? May I ask that question?
Okay, I usually don't take personal questions like that, but it's a lot of what I had seen and the people that I was in contact with, or, you know, in bases and other places, didn't share my values and morals and guidance. So let's just put it that way.
Yeah, good for
So
you,
you
mate.
did. So
Good
you
for
did see stuff that was difficult to stomach.
Yeah, for me, because
Mhm.
I felt tricked into the whole thing, that I had to even observe such things, you know. And so, you know, I learned there are really immoral people out there. There really are. And I'm just not one of them. That's all.
You said when you were introducing the subject, Robert, that, you know, you had actually you'd wanted very much, as you found out about TIs, about people who were targeted, you wanted very much to make a difference. You wanted very much to affect and change the situation. So I guess this is a corollary to Craig's question, really. Have you been in touch with any of the neuro rights initiative people who are talking about neuro rights these days in the universities? Or are you in touch with other military neuroscientists who are talking about being neuroethicists, etc.?
A couple of them, but you know, and I support their work. I just don't know what more to do. You know, this is up to the media, the public, getting the word out, pressuring politicians. You know,
Are you a little battle?
I just don't know what more I can do to support them. Their efforts.
Hopefully, President Biden will step up, get the information, and do something about this. Put some money into finding out who these people are.
I know, and he does say he wants science to be the legacy of his administration, but you know, unfortunately, I don't know if he's the right guy. He's gonna do it, but
oh, Craig, don't you think he's part of the entire globalist cartel over here
Yeah.
that's trying hard to transhumanize the world?
I'm just putting it out there. Just, you know, where do you turn these days? You know, where
yeah, that's a good question. And I hear in Robert's voice, I mean, tones of battle weariness. It's like, what can we possibly do? Because you've been speaking for years and years, and you've been doing a great job, you know, doing your talks at conferences and so forth, Robert.
Well, thank you,
Robert, you've been wonderful. Really.
Yeah, I think we're all grateful for that.
People. Really wonderful.
I do feel at times with gratitude like that I may have saved lives, people from suicide and other things from the information that I've given. And for that, it made my life worth living. But I have another appointment I need to go to.
Okay. Well, whistleblowers, I was going to say, Robert, are so important. And, you know, we're all grateful that because you are a beacon of hope, even though it seems like a very dark landscape. And, you know, this is clearly a conversation we need to keep having. And as Craig said, we have to keep talking about this and keep putting it out there. And as Robert just said, we have to, you know, politicians need to be constantly apprised of this situation over and over and over again. Mainstream media has dropped the ball, but in a sense, they've got to be given the information over and over again so that they pick up the ball and publish the truth.
Yeah.
And similarly, human rights organizations who've abandoned those who are targeted, they also need to be further informed. Galina is itching to say something, so go ahead.
Maybe next time, because I had 2 questions for Robert, but he has to go. So maybe next time, okay?
Yeah, we'll have another panel.
Yes.
Okay, that's wonderful. Another time. So Robert, thank you so much for being here. Anyone else? Any further words to say before we close for today? Okay, so I guess
you're a remarkable lady. I really appreciate having someone like you on Earth who has taken up this cause. You are remarkable. I went over to Belgium, as you know, to meet Melanie, who they found an implant in her throat. And what she's going through with V2K and having to get her child back. Outrageous what's happened to some people.
Yeah, I got to second that, Ramona, that, wow, you are not battle weary. You keep going. You go, girl.
Thank you. Sorry, my outrage is infinite. I won't stop. I simply won't stop talking. And I'm very grateful that there are lots of other people along the way, to join me every now and then. So thank you. And I wish you all the very best. And, let's come back and keep these conversations going.
And look after yourself,
Great
Galina.
meeting all of you. Yeah.
Look after yourself, dear Galina. Look after yourself, Patrick. And thanks again, Robert.
Thanks
Yes.
again.
That's like
Thanks, everyone.
Great.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
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 Thank
Bye,
you.
Ramona.